Yo, I know we're late, but here I am filling out my bracket live. Put this on 2 times speed, cook through it. Hopefully you learn a lot. And I mean, I'm not going to get a single game wrong. So mark my words. All right, let's start it off. Let's not waste any time. Alabama is obviously beating Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Into this first 8-9, it's the first game of the tournament, Maryland versus West Virginia, Big 10 versus Big 12. My thing with Maryland is they're a little gross sometimes, right? But Scott, Young, Hart, they can all hit tough shots. And in that game, it's back in November when they beat Miami by 18 in non-conference. It kind of showed that they can be a matchup problem for some teams, right? But in the Big Ten, they were way better on their home floor. And then West Virginia, you lose 14 games, and they lost to all the best teams in the Big 12. And they didn't really do anything away from their home gym. But, I trust Bob Huggins more than I trust Kevin Willard in March. West Virginia's kind of due. But this isn't a typical West Virginia team that is just lockdown defense, press. Like, this is more of a scoring team. And, like, Eric Stevenson's their best player. He's more of a finesse guy. I'm going to roll with Maryland. I was West Virginia all week, but I think Dante Scott has a big game, and I think Maryland will use their size and be better defensively in this one. Next up, San Diego State Charleston. I feel very strongly about this. I think Charleston. I made a video about it. Go to my channel. There's like 5 videos. You can't miss it. But San Diego State's due for some tournament fortune. Charleston played in a bad league. No one jumps off the page from their team. I think San Diego State is going to really lock them up. I don't think they'll be able to run their stuff nearly as easily, and I think San Diego State's underrated offensively. Defensively, they're 10th in KenPom, and I think Matt Bradley's the best player on the floor. San Diego State wins this game. Virginia Furman, plenty of people want to take Furman. I'm totally fine with that. I'm just going to give Virginia a game here. A lot of experience on this team. Yes, Vanderplas out lowers their offensive ceiling, and Cafaro, Shedrick, Jalen Slauson could pull those guys away from the basket, but I just think Clark, Franklin, those guys, Gardner, so experienced. Give them one tournament game on a neutral floor against a team from a weaker conference. I think this one will be close, but this isn't one of the upsets that I want to pick. That's the thing. In the first round, you can't get too cute. You can't try and if you pick Kent State, Furman, Louisiana, and Iona, and you're like, oh, one of those will happen, right? But if you pick more than one, like, if you're wrong, you're going to lose a lot of points. You got to pick in the first round your spots for upsets, in my opinion. So if you're a little iffy, you don't feel great about it, don't attack the spot and take the safer team, right? If you're trying to win your pools. So Creighton, NC State, feel strongly about this one as well. I think Creighton is Final Four caliber. NC State, I don't think DJ Burns will be able to find that much success against Kalkbrenner, 2-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year. I love DJ Burns. He does have a lot of weight on him, but I think Creighton will have a good plan of attack for him. And then Joyner's been awesome. Terquavion Smith has a high ceiling, but Smith especially just inefficient, just very inefficient. And I think Kalkbrenner's going to cook. I think Kalkbrenner's going to have 20 plus in this game. I love Creighton's backcourt. Skyerman is so poised. He's just such a good basketball player. I love watching him play. I think Creighton wins this game by double digits. It's one of my favorite bets of the week, the Creighton and the 5.5 points. I don't think the ACC is strong. Give me the Creighton Blue Jays easily in that one. Okay. Moving on. UCSB's got some good players. They gave Creighton a good game 2 years ago in the tournament in the 5-12. UCSB probably should have won that game, honestly. But come on. Baylor's got the best backcourt in the country. Yes, they lost to Iowa State twice recently. They do have their issues defensively, but it's still a Scott Drew coach team. And I know Scott Drew's lost to Yale and Georgia State in the first round, but I don't think that happens again. Keontae George, Adam Flagler, LJ Cryer, JTT getting extra healthy, Flo Tamba, Jalen Bridges went off in that game. They lost to Iowa State. I think he had like 7 threes. It's a lot of good players, man. Baylor, when they were rolling, people were like, this team could cut down the nets. And I think they got a really bad draw, having to play Creighton and then with Arizona up next and then Alabama in their region. But this Baylor team's too good to lose in the first round, unless they were ice cold. But I think Baylor gets through there. This is an interesting matchup. Utah State was favored in this game for a while. The Mountain West, Nevada was a disaster tonight. Other than San Diego State, I don't really love the Mountain West at all. But this Utah State team is fun. The analytics love them. I think they're up to 18th in KenPom. Taylor Funk is just a dude that you watch in the NCAA tournament. You're like, oh, they got that guy. You know, I remember when I went to Wake Forest, and I think that's common knowledge. Whatever. But that's not common knowledge. I don't know who's watching this video, but I covered Wake Forest for 5 years. There it is. But Taylor Funk, when he was a freshman on St. Joe's, he lit Wake up from deep. And he's just gotten better and better. Ashworth's a baller. And Missouri is just the worst defensive team in KenPom. Like, give me Utah State in a shootout. The Mountain West finally wins a game. Utah State's lost their last 2 first-round games in the tournament. Give me Utah State. Princeton, usually an Ivy League school, is better than a 15 seed, but the mid-majors are really good this year. And I've seen Princeton play in person this year. They got some good players, but Ballo, Tubelis, way too much inside. I'm going to put Arizona through right now. I think Utah State is not really a threat. I think Missouri would be a better threat for Arizona in a track meet, for sure. Then this Baylor-Creighton one's giving me trouble. Because like I said, I really do love Baylor's backcourt, but Creighton's starting 5 is tough. And, you know, if they can make things tough as possible for Flagler and Cryer and George, and that's the thing about Flagler and Cryer. I know Jeff Goodman said that every time they shoot it off the dribble, I just think it's going to go in. I just have that much confidence in them. They're not Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell and Masio Teague, but they're really, really good. Really, really, really good. But I like Creighton's ability to defend compared to Baylor, and I think I just think these Creighton guards are really going to find a rhythm in this tournament. I really do. So I'm going to go with the Blue Jays. Get a 6 seed in my Sweet 16 in this region. Back to San Diego State, Virginia. Give me the Aztecs in a gross, not sexy matchup of defensive-minded teams. I think San Diego State has more dudes. And also, I think here's another part of the strategy. It's like, I think it's more likely Virginia loses to Furman than San Diego State loses to Charleston, right? So at this point, it makes sense to move the team that I'm more confident in forward more than to like analyze that matchup with Virginia deeply. But even if I am going to analyze the matchup that deeply, I'm taking San Diego State. Better players. I think they have better players, and I trust them more to score. And I know people doubt San Diego State at the end of games. They have been weak with that at points in this season, but Trammell, I think, could be an electric point guard that, gets hot and goes for 20 in a game in this tournament. And then Jaden Ledee is, not really a big name. Comes off the bench sometimes, but let me fact check that. I'm pretty sure Jaden Ledee comes off the bench. Yeah, he does. I was right. I'm never wrong. Come on. But he's really good. He's a high major player, transfer from Ohio State, and he's just crafty on the basket. I think he'll be able to get some tough buckets inside in both of those games. He's a guy to watch. But I like the Aztecs. Sometimes in March, you just got to pick the team that you are more comfortable with, right? And I've watched Virginia plenty this season. I've watched San Diego State plenty this season. I like the Aztecs better. It's that simple. I don't really think Maryland is that much of a threat to Alabama. I don't think West Virginia would be either. Alabama is that good. I think it is totally within the realm of possibility that they go on a Baylor in 2021 or a Villanova in 2018 type of run where it's just like, this is a pro level team with pros on it that could win every game by double digits on their way to a championship. I really do think their ceiling is that high. So we're going to move forward with Bama. Creighton, Arizona, these teams played in Maui, and Arizona was controlling the game, and then Creighton went on a big run, but it wasn't enough late. And I think Arizona looked amazing at the beginning of the year. They looked like maybe the best team in the country, other than UConn, I guess. But I think Creighton gets revenge here. Creighton's my squad. I like Creighton. I've liked them all year, ever since that 6-game losing streak where Kalkbrenner was hurt and they had some bad luck and they didn't really settle into their defensive rhythm. People were kind of still figuring out their roles offensively, especially Skyerman. At first, I remember Skyerman and Maui. I'm like, this dude's just jacking it up. It's like Alexander Nemhard, Kluma. They're all sophomores. They think they're hot shit. Like almost beating Kansas. People were joking like Creighton's got to hang that banner like almost beat Kansas. But Kaluma went for 24 in a tournament game last year. Alexander went for 18 in a tournament game last year. And then Nemhard was hurt. He was probably better than all of them. He was Big East freshman of the year, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, Skyerman comes in. We're like, who's this guy with South Dakota State with the headband who's chucking from the parking lot? That's kind of what I thought at first that dynamic was. But man, has he settled in and been an awesome player. He's so good at rebounding. He's so good at passing. He lets the game come to him, and he lets Alexander Nemhard attack in the pick and roll, and he kind of hangs out a bit, but then he finds his spot. He can get to the rim. He can still shoot it, And I think he's been a huge part for why I have this much confidence creating. And then Kalkbrenner is just, he's all skinny and so unassuming looking, but he makes 70% of his shots. He's so good around the basket. And Ballo and Tubelis, they have the size to throw at him, but Kaluma can maybe spread him out a bit. Kaluma was good in that game in Maui. So I've got Creighton in my Elite Eight, and I totally think Creighton could beat Alabama. I think it's definitely in play, but their run ends there. I'm going to take Alabama. The risk is not worth the reward, in my opinion, in these bracket pools. To throw multiple high seeds in your Final Four, and you're going to see that I have high seeds in my Final Four. Moving on to the Midwest, give me Houston. They're going to win this game by 30 at least, with or without Marcus Sasser. They're just that good, and they bully teams that are at the mid-major level. That's just what happens. They beat Oral Roberts by 40. We'll get to Oral Roberts in a second, but Houston easy. This is a coach matchup. Sometimes with these 8-9s, I just look at it and it's like, sometimes you want to look into it, sometimes it's just a feeling right off the bat. I remember a couple years ago, it was Oklahoma, Mizzou, and I knew in a second, Oklahoma, 100% I'm taking Oklahoma. You just know sometimes. Once you've watched all season, you just know. And Auburn has been underwhelming for sure. Those guards are crazy, Wendell Green and Katie Johnson, but I think Janai Broome could eat in this game, and the Fran McCaffrey and the tournament stuff is real. Richmond over Iowa was my best call last year. I just don't trust Iowa in the tournament, and I don't trust Iowa away from their home gym. It's that simple. I think Bruce Pearl gets his guys to win this game. Green or Johnson, one of them plays well, and Janai Broome goes off. Give me Auburn. Miami Drake's really tough. Drake is super sharp. They looked incredible in the Missouri Valley. They're very, very old. Coach's son Tucker is so good, so crafty. And Norchad Omier is awesome, and it terrifies me that he's not playing likely. But I can't doubt this Miami team. Jordan Miller is my favorite player in college basketball. Isaiah Wong is a stud. I think Wooga Poplar has been playing at a much higher level lately. Nigel Pack can go for 20 in any game. And Anthony Walker and AJ Casey have such defined roles on both ends of the floor, and they know exactly what they need to do. They don't execute at the level Norchad does, but they can fill that role. And Miami's offense did not drop off in that Duke game without Norchad. The rebounding and the defense did. And Drake can fill it up. So I expect this to be a good game. Miami's only favored by 2 points for a reason, but I trust them to find a way to grit this one out. All right, here's my first big upset. Give me Kent State. I tweeted about this. It was kind of a hot take, but I thought Kent State deserved to be in the at-large conversation. It doesn't stretch towards power conference because they have so many opportunities, but Kent State lost at Houston by 5, at Gonzaga by 7, at Charleston by 2, and they beat the first place team in their conference twice. And their other 3 losses were all road losses in their conference. And everyone knows that it's hard to win road games in your conference. It just is. That's what college basketball is. So all this being said, Kent State played with the big dogs. They held Houston to 49 points. They go to Gonzaga, they lose by single digits, and Charleston didn't lose to anyone. They lost 3 games all season. They're right in that game. So Kent State has shown that they can compete with these best teams. And this guard, Sincere Carey, 5th-year guard, the stud, can go off for 25, And Trace Jackson Davis is amazing. I love watching him play. I used to love Race Thompson. He has not had the same pop that I saw in him earlier in his career. Kopp and Galloway are just so meh. No Xavier Johnson. Tamar Bates comes in. I'm like, I don't trust this guy. Maybe it's just because he's a lefty. I don't know. But give me Kent State. The line is 4 for a reason. Kent State's only 4-point dogs. And they can harass Trace, and, Trace can go for 24 and 12 in it, and it won't be close to enough for Indiana to win this game. Or when I mean close enough, I mean Kent State could win by multiple possessions still. They get the ball out of his hands, and these guards play well in Kent State, and athletically, I don't think they're that far behind. Trace is a freak. I just mean like in general. Um, if they can do a decent job on him and just don't let him explode for like 35, right, and 18, give me Kent State in the upset. Give me the Golden Flashes. Great logo, too. Great logo. Iowa State Pitt. I love Pitt. I deem myself the president of the hashtag Pitt is good fan club. I predicted them to come in 10th the ACC. They came in 14th. That's pretty good. I love Nike Sabande. He's one of my just a fun shot creating guard. And what a performance to gut that out over Mississippi State. Lucky is definitely a word that I'm going to use, but Pitt turns the ball over 7 times in that game and gets out rebounded like mad. I think it was by 20 plus, but that won't fly against Iowa State. Iowa State's bigs, Oshun Oshuni, 5th-year player, Robert Jones, 4th-year player, and Tyreek Key, 4th-year player. Men, grown men. Fede Federico is already going to have a tough matchup, but you throw the Chet Holmgrens in, the Diaz-Graham twins, who made some nice plays against Mississippi State, but those Iowa State bigs are going to be licking their lips. And Gabe Kalscheur in the tournament has been a stud in his career. For Minnesota as a freshman, he went for 24 and a win over Louisville. He scored like nearly half their points in that win over Wisconsin last year. Iowa State, they were gross last year. They're better this year, but they're still kind of gross as in offensively. Sometimes like, what is going on? You know, your point guard, Taylor Lipsy, can't really shoot the ball. They're kind of the antithesis to a lot of, you know, fun teams that people want to pick in March, but they just beat Baylor twice, which just shows, you know, that they can beat good teams. They beat Baylor in neutral court, beat Baylor in their gym. Iowa State's good, and I don't think Pitt has a chance, to be perfectly honest. Kennesaw State, great story. Nice win over Liberty on their home court, get to the tournament for the first time. Pretty sure it's the first time. Yeah, they won like one game 2 years ago. Great story, but they got athletes for sure, but watched them in the Atlantic Sun tournament. I didn't see enough to think that they can take down the Xavier team that just made it to the Big East tournament final. And Xavier, the way they move the ball is incredible. I love watching them play. Fremantle definitely lowers their ceiling offensively. They're better defensively. Desmond Claw is really the only guy off the bench that gives them anything, but they won't be losing the first round. I don't think so. A&M Penn State's giving me nightmares. Jaden Pickett's a stud. Jaden Pickett is a stud. And the way that he, I say Jaden, I meant Jalen. Sorry. Seth Lundy, Funk, making plays. Winter, clutch. Penn State's really fun. And they play through Pickett. It's all about booty ball. And A&M is so frantic and scrambly on defense, and they can cause a lot of problems that way. But Pickett could also pick them apart, you know, by just making great passes when the doubles comes, or, you know, ball faking, get them all out of sorts. A&M is totally underseeded as a 7. Penn State gets a bad draw. I've been back and forth on this game all week, but I'm going to give Pickett a game. I think that one's going to come down to the end. I think A&M is a better team. I'm going to give Pickett a game, though. Colgate has definitely given teams trouble in recent tournaments. Took Tennessee down to the wire as a 15 seed a few years back. Was up like double digits in the first half against Arkansas 2 years ago. And then last year, they give Wisconsin a really good game. Not enough. I had them over Wisconsin. I wanted that. Didn't happen. Texas just won the Big 12 tournament by 20 points over Kansas. I think they'll take Colgate seriously. They know that this team's been in the tournament before. Give me the Longhorns. And I'll take them again over Penn State. I don't think Pickett maybe could have done a magical run if he was somewhere else in the bracket, but I think Texas is a little bit more disciplined defensively than Texas A&M, even though Texas A&M's intensity is so high. Texas has dudes. They look really good right now. I don't see them losing to either of these teams, whether A&M gets through or not. I see Texas in the Sweet 16. It's not sexy, but give me another 60 in the Sweet 16. Give me Iowa State. I think they can cause the same type of fits for Xavier that they did for Baylor. A little bit different is Xavier's more post-up focused and ball movement versus Baylor is kind of shot creation in the pick and roll and off the dribble, but still give me the Cyclones. Gabe Kalscheur, I think, is going to have a big tournament. I just believe in him based on his March history. And, you know, they just have the ability to just make a game gritty and gross. And I think that's what they do against this Xavier team that without Fremantle just lacks the depth that gives me that much faith in them in the tournament. Up here, does Miami beat Trace Jackson Davis without North Shadow me in the lineup? I don't know. I don't know. Is that why I picked Kent State? No, not at all. But if Miami were to play Kent State, give them another game. Go Hurricanes. I love this team, clearly. And sorry, like last year, I picked USC to beat Miami. I know I gave Miami USC, but I was like, Auburn's too big. Jabari Smith, Walker Kessler, they got pros. Bruce Pearl's a good coach. They'll find a way to expose the height advantage, right? That didn't happen. And I'm watching that game and I'm like, I didn't even like Auburn. Why did I pick Miami? So I knew they were good. I knew they were good all year. And this Miami team is better, right? And I want them in my Sweet 16 because I trust them. I know what those players are going to give, and I know what I'm going to see when I tune into that game. Indiana, I don't know what I'm going to get. Am I going to get good Indiana or am I going to get not good Indiana? I know I'm going to get good Trace Jackson Davis, but he's not the only player on the team. But Kent State's Cinderella run comes to an end there. Put the Hurricanes ahead. And we're going to go with Houston. Not really worried about that Auburn matchup. I think Houston has the advantage of the backcourt, and John Broome will not have nearly the same advantage down low as you will against Iowa. Okay, Houston, Miami. With or without O'Meara, I think Houston is a really good matchup for Miami. Miami would have to play a perfect game and force a ton of turnovers. Rebounding, just keeping Houston off the offensive glass would be a nightmare. So, unfortunately, I hate Miami's draw that they have to play Houston. But the Cougars cruise there. This one, you get another Big 12 matchup, right? I can't put Iowa State in my Elite Eight because it comes down to the fact that I'm more confident that, I'm less confident in my pick of Xavier Iowa State. Like I'm taking Iowa State, but I like Xavier a lot. So it's like if I pick, this is like the game theory, right? It's like if I put Iowa State or Xavier here in my Elite Eight, it feels like a lower probability decision because I'm not as confident of who's going to win this game in the round before. But I know I have Texas here, so I might as well push them forward. And as the 2 seed, they're going to be the most common picked to win the bottom half of the Midwest. So I'm going to roll chalk there. I got to pick my spots where I do roll chalk because I get a little crazy at points. And as I get to the bottom of the bracket, you're going to start to see that. Kansas cruises against Howard. Not going to waste time there. All aboard the must bus. I have no doubt about this game. This might be one of my favorite first round bets that I'm going to place. Illinois, yes, they have a high ceiling. Yes, I love Matt Myers. Shannon's a dude. Like they beat UCLA and Texas on neutral courts. It was a long time ago. And I don't think they maximize their potential. I don't love Coleman Hawkins. I know he can be fun and flashy at times and be a do-it-all guy. But I don't trust Illinois' depth. I don't trust their shooting. And, Brad Underwood struggled in the tournament lately. Musbus has been a machine with Arkansas, 3 straight Elite Eights. The Martin twin teams were so fun. He gives his guys, his teams that are just, they like to force turnovers. They're athletic. They're aggressive. They're long. And he gives them confidence to just make plays in the pick and roll. And he's got athletes, every year. It's the same thing. And this team's even more talented, but they're a little less refined. I loved JD Note last year. He's maybe my favorite player in college basketball. I love Jalen Williams. Only Devo Davis is really back from that squad. And I'm not like a huge Nick Smith, Anthony Black guy. I love Ricky Council. And I love Trevon Brazile. What a shame that happened to him. I think Arkansas could have been like a 1 or 2 seed if they had Trevon Brazile out that high on him. He kind of connected everything as a stretch 4, as a defender, switchable. That kid's going to be special when he comes back. But Arkansas, I have just way more faith in, and I think these guards are going to buy in and make a tournament run. That's a team that maybe that game slips away from them and they lose that game by double digits. Arkansas is also totally capable of a Final Four run. And I think getting out of the SEC will be good for them to see different teams and different styles. Okay, this one, a lot of people like VCU. Ace Baldwin's a dog. Respect to him. But when I watch VCU, outside of Ace Baldwin, I just have zero confidence in anyone to score the basketball. Like I know you have Brandon Johns. He's fine. He doesn't have a lot of size. He's like pretty good inside. I just don't like it. And VCU's wings and their depth, I just never think the ball's going to go in when they shoot it. It just doesn't look good. And it's just like, give it to Ace and like let Ace make something happen. And he does make things happen a lot. They're hot right now. They're playing very well. But Randy Bennett has plenty of time since getting embarrassed in that West Coast Conference championship game against Gonzaga. And I'm not worried about Aiden Mahaney being a freshman and dealing with this pressure because Logan Johnson is so good at that. And Marshall Onis is a good ball handler as well. I think St. Mary's wins this one without too much of a sweat. Think about how they dismantled Indiana in this 5-12 matchup last year. I trust Randy Bennett to win at least a game in this year's tournament. All right, Patino. Do you ever want to bet against Patino? Of course you don't. But UConn is top 10 KenPom. They might be top 5 in KenPom for a reason. They were number 1 in the country earlier for a reason. They can be dominant. They can be dominant when they're playing their best. With Sanogo and Klingon, it's just a never-ending assault on the rim and on the glass. And Jordan Hawkins is so silky smooth. I tweeted, I think he's the silky smoothest player in the country. His makes go in just perfectly through the net. He gets so high up in the air for his jumper. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. He needs to play well. You know, he wasn't great in the Big East tournament. And Andre Jackson can be a little infuriating. So can Newton. Naheem Aline can disappear. But if the guards are just fine, you know, if Calcaterra can, you know, drill a couple threes, Caravan hit some threes, like they have so much upside defensively. And while Iona has an amazing coach on their side and athletically, they're not, you know, they won't be totally overpowered, but they're not on UConn's level, of course. And give me the Huskies. I don't see them going down this early. All right, Arizona State just smoked Nevada. I love this TCU team, the way they get up and down, the way they attack. They're number 1 in the country on Haslametrics, one of my favorite stats, at how many shots per 100 possessions they get at the rim, which is 40% of their shots. And I love that. I love a team that you're getting a look at the rim, or I'd rather take a look around the basket, right? Than like, sorry, I'm stumbling for a second, but like TCU is horrible at shooting threes, but I can live with them because they're usually open because teams have to kind of pack it in against them because of the way that they pass in the interior, the way they attack the offensive glass, and just that they have so many big switchable pieces, so much depth. Like, I really like this TCU team. I don't love their draw, but I really like this TCU team. Having Lampkin is obviously better, but I still think they're just a better team than Arizona State, who's just fine. I mean, they looked awesome tonight, but I watched them play Oregon. I watched them play UCLA. I watched them play Arizona. I know Cambridge hit that amazing shot, but I'm just not that impressed with them, and I don't super trust Hurley in the tournament either. Grand Canyon had a great season, great tournament. Not much saw here. Gonzaga will not lose that game. Northwestern, Boise State, another gross grit fest. Give me Northwestern, and the reason for that is, 1, fading the Mountain West. 2, a lot of the times I watch Northwestern, I'm like, oh, they are not playing well at all. But they're in the game or they're winning. It's because they're so good defensively. I don't love at the end of possessions when Chase Audi tries to play hero ball or Boo Booey. It's just kind of an ISO for him from the side. I don't super trust Chris Collins either, but Boise State is just so meh to me. I remember watching them beat San Diego State, and I'm just like, oh, San Diego State, why are you losing to Boise State? They're just, they're not good. They're not good. It's the same feeling as VCU. If you watch a team, you want to feel like you're confident in them, you know, and confident in the players. The players give you confidence when they miss or they don't score in a possession. Oh, I like what we're going for here, you know? And Boise State is just kind of dusty to me. I just don't love their players. And last year, I was really back and forth on Boise State, Memphis. And I went Memphis because I was like, you know, I don't know. I just don't trust them. I just don't trust them. You know, if they win this, I'll change my perception on them. But I give Northwestern the nod there. And then Drew Pember's a bucket, but UCLA, Jalen Clark, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I do think UCLA will get by Northwestern or Boise without much of a sweat. My long-term expectations for UCLA definitely shifted with Jalen Clark being announced out, but not enough for me to have them bow out to a Northwestern team that I don't love by any means, but that plays hard and has proven that they know how to win this season. TCU Gonzaga, this one's my nightmare matchup other than Creighton Baylor in this round of the tournament. Gonzaga likes to run, so does TCU. TCU has more depth. TCU is so physical and athletic, and Gonzaga hasn't seen a team like them in a while. And you think of the teams Gonzaga historically has struggled with in the tournament, like they almost lost to Memphis last year. They did lose to Arkansas, losing to Florida State a few years back in that upset. I think this is the exact type of team that Gonzaga can struggle with, even though I think Gonzaga is really good. And in many other places in the bracket, I think they could have been a Final Four team. Give me the Toads. I love the 6 seeds. Love the 6 seeds, clearly. And then we're going to go with UConn. Moving on. That's definitely an interesting pod. And like, if it's VCU Iona, I guess I'll be kicking myself for not giving them enough thought. But I am still attached to UConn's ceiling, and the analytics love them. And I still think with Sonogo and Klingon out there that they just have the chance to just be dominant and like either get an offensive rebound or get an easy basket or get fouled every single possession. Like that's the ceiling that they have. Just need the guards to be good. And if the guards are great, then they're beating people by 20. Kansas, Arkansas. Whenever I fade Bill Self in the tournament, it never works. Except for that 3-seed Kansas that got smoked by, I think it was USC, 6-seed USC a few years back. But I like the Must Bus. I'm aboard the Must Bus. Gotta have some upsets. I like Arkansas. I think they're a more talented team than Kansas. Who's DeJuan Harris going to guard? Grady Dick has a lot of physicality to deal with. Jalen Wilson will have multiple guys that are going to guard him. Arkansas is relentless attacking the rim. KJ Adams is small. I know they're great at playing that style, but I like Arkansas. They're talented, and they're a team that I'm willing to take a gamble on because of their ceiling, like UConn. But that's where their run ends, in my opinion. I do really like this UConn team, and I think that they are Final Four bound. TCU, UCLA, I want to pick TCU so bad, but when I really think about this matchup, I think UCLA is kind of the type of counter that works for them because of how under control and well coached they are. I want to pick TCU, but we're going to go with UCLA. Even though I think, let's say this, I think TCU and Gonzaga both have a better chance at making the Final Four than UCLA does. We're going to put the Huskies in the Final Four. But yeah, I love TCU. I have a future on them to make the Final Four. But UCLA, Hawkeyes, and Tiger are just such tournament guys. I still think that if UCLA beat Carolina last year in that Sweet 16 game, they could have made the championship game. But yep, that's where we're going with the West region. Okay, moving on to the East. This region is just, it's stanky. You got a cold Purdue team, not a cold Purdue team. They were winning, but everyone's like, you pressure those guards and, turn it over. They just look very vulnerable at times, even though they have the most dominant player in college basketball. To me, I'm watching Purdue and I'm like, also the Fairleigh Dickinson coach said that they think they're going to beat Purdue. So we're going to pick Purdue. I'm kidding. No, but if it happens, that'll be awesome because he called that. But yeah, people know with these two freshman guards in the backcourt that you apply the pressure on them, that they're vulnerable. And if you don't double Edey, when he's not turning it over, if he's kicking out to the perimeter, they get a wide open three all the time, and they just don't hit him. They don't have an athletic lottery pick like Jaden Ivey, a top 5 pick, and Jaden Ivey to bail them out of situations, and they don't have knock down 3-point shooters. It's like, go ahead and shoot Ethan Morton. I know Mason Gillis had that game, but he misses them a bunch. Lawrence Smith aren't that knocked down. Brandon Newman, he's not, he's athletic, and I like having him out there more than Ethan Morton, but they just miss so many threes. But shot quality has them as they get the best shots in the country, So if those guys want to shoot their threes well, I think Purdue could win a national championship, but I don't have any faith in the backcourt and 3-point shooting. So I'll just not waste any time and put Memphis right ahead. I love this Memphis team. Kendrick Davis is a stud. They looked awesome against Houston. They've looked awesome for a large portion of this year. They gave a great fight to Alabama on the road earlier this season. Penny's done an awesome job. They should have beat Gonzaga last year. I think they're going to be able to pressure the ball so well, and Davis will be, in a tournament setting, the best player on the floor, better than Zach Edey. Well, they're so hard to compare because Edey's twice his size, but I think Memphis wins that game. I skipped the Florida Atlantic game. I love Florida Atlantic. They're such a great story. Dusty May's done an awesome job, and they are so deep, balanced, so many guys who can shoot it. They got 4 guards in that starting lineup and a 7-footer. Just a bad draw. I just love this Memphis team. Bad draw for Florida Atlantic. Hated to see them here. I don't think they have nearly as good a chance to knock off Purdue. So give me the Tigers there. All right, Duke Oral Roberts. Duke's been awesome. They looked great in the ACC tournament, but come on. You got to pick Max Abmas. You got to give him a game. 82% of people have Duke. So don't talk yourself out of this as, oh, everyone's going to have Oral Roberts. That's not the case at all. They're better this year. They're 28-4. I know they got smacked around by Houston. Excuse me. I know they lost to Utah State. Who are the other 2 losses? They lost to New Mexico and they lost to St. Mary's, right? But they got smacked around by Houston. This is not a typical Duke. This freshman class for Duke isn't as dominating as, years past, right? Like Whitehead's still coming off the bench. I thought he was going to be like a first team All-ACC guy, like a lot of these Duke top 5 recruits in years past. Lively has been a monster defensively, but Connor Vanover is bigger than him. He's grew. He's 7'5" now. And Proctor, Roach, Mitchell, I don't super trust their outside shots. I think if Oral can keep them below 75 points, I think they can win this game. And that's because offensively, you've got Asmus. Okay, here are the reasons Oral loses this game. Vanover gets in foul trouble or Asmus is just a brick, right? But Max has been waiting for this moment for 2 years. He was a stud. He was a total stud in that 2021 tournament in 3 straight games. And Juergens and Thompson are there, still there, great on the wings, do the little things, and can contribute in many ways. And you got McBride, the Vanderbilt transfer. He can score as well. And here's the other thing about Duke. Yes, they've been awesome defensively lately, but it's like playing away from Cameron's one thing, right? And playing away from Cameron, who have they played that's a good offensive team? Miami, right? And they got smoked by Miami in Coral Gables. And then they play them when O'Meara goes down right away. And Miami still has a really good offensive game and scores 78. So because the ACC is weak, I think Duke's defense is a little overrated. Shire's done a great job, but Duke is much more upset prone than I think people are thinking. And I think it's because this region is so iffy. Teams that people don't really trust, that people are like, oh, I'm going to have Duke going far, so I got to have him over Oral Roberts. But give me the Golden Eagles. Give me Asmus. You're not going to want to watch that game, and Asmus is going off, and you don't have them. So that's enough for a region sometimes to pick them. Tennessee, I think, has been overrated all year. A lot of people do, and they don't have Zakai Ziegler anymore. But they're favored by 10.5 points in this game for a reason. I really wanted Marshall to come out of the Sun Belt. If this was Marshall, I might have picked Marshall. I love that Marshall team. Tavion Kinsey's a beast. Camden Kerfman, VMI transfer, beast. Strapped. Such a good shooter. But Tennessee is just too much. They'll be too organized and too prepped for this game. They lost to Oregon State in that 5-12 2 years ago. I think Rick Barnes has a lot to prove here, and I don't think they get upset there. And unfortunately, I think Tennessee is a little too much for Oral. Sometimes, you know what? I'm going to switch this. I've had Tennessee all week. I don't care. Give me Oral Roberts. Give me a second game, right? If I think they can beat Duke, why don't I think they can beat Tennessee? I've been thinking all week that because, see, this is kind of the game theory, right? It's like, I think it's more likely that I think there's obviously a good chance that Duke beats Oral Roberts, right? Like this is an upset. So it's like, I'm hedging my bet a bit by taking Tennessee because if Oral loses, then it's like, it's not a double whammy. I still have a chance to get the Sweet 16 points. So honestly, okay, fine. I'll take Tennessee. It's funny that I just did that a lot, but whatever. Tennessee is just tough, and they can take care of business. Houston beat Oral by 40, right? And I'm saying I don't think Duke has that type of intensity or offensive ceiling to do that. And while Tennessee can be gross offensively at times, like they are a machine other times, right? So Tennessee gets a pretty good draw. There's other upset teams that I would have preferred to take over them, but Memphis sneaks to the Sweet 16. Kentucky Province, I tweeted this the other day. Every year, right, or at least recently, an 11 seed stumbles into the tournament, then does great. Iowa State had lost like 3 in a row, got smoked in the Big 12 tournament by like 20 points or more. And they come in and grit went out against LSU, grit went out against Wisconsin. This is a Sweet 16 team that, by all logic of who's playing best basketball heading into March, just goes out the window. UCLA, right? Loses 4 in a row. Goes to the first 4, comes back in that game, wins, boom, they're in the Final Four. They weren't even playing well. They barely deserved to make the tournament. It just happens, right? And Providence is the team that checks those boxes for me this year. They've lost 4 or 5. There was a rumor that like the best players are going to like this concert, like a little dirt concert, and didn't take the Seton Hall game seriously. They got thrashed on their home floor where they've been very good this year. We're beating all the best teams in the Big East on. But the Bryce Hopkins revenge game, I don't want to put too much stake into that. I just think Providence has enough to hold their own on the glass that they'll be able to find ways to expose Sheboy in that pick and roll. And Providence ranks really well. They're top 20 in KenPom on offense. Ed Cooley's a stud. I think he finds a way to get this upset, and I feel like Cal's got a lot of pressure on him after St. Peter's. Give me the Friars in an upset. Totally not biased because I didn't grow up 15 minutes from there. I actually think the Friars are going to win this. I was being sarcastic for that, but I actually do think this is not a biased selection. I totally think Kentucky, you lost twice to Vanderbilt. I don't care if Vanderbilt was on the bubble. You lost twice to Vanderbilt. The 6th seed is too high. Sheway has gone exposed defensively. That Kentucky-Arkansas game that I remember back a while ago, you can expose them defensively. And they don't have that much shooting. CJ Frederick, stud at Iowa, just showed high flashes at Iowa, I'll say. They don't have that. Casey Wallace is a dude. I don't really like anyone else on this team, and I don't think Sheway is going to bully his way into a win here. Here's my other favorite first round upset. Give me Montana State. Oh, I love Montana State. Raekwon Battle is a stud. Know the name. Athletic guard. Transferred from Washington. Averaged 17 a game this year. High level shot creator. High level athlete. Jabril Bello is a Big Sky. I'm pretty sure Big Sky Player of the Year. Not this year. It was Steel Vendors. He's a bucket on Eastern Washington. But 2 years ago, it was Jabril Bello. And Great Osabor comes out the bench. His name's great. I mean, that's friggin' great. I hate that I said that. Sorry. His name's great. He's a stud. And he can really, he's a load. They got 2 dudes who are a load in the post, right? And like Keontae's a strong dude. Naquan Tomlin's a freak defensively, but I don't really trust. Kansas State is very reliant on their 2 best players, which is Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson. And Keontae Johnson's an awesome story. He's a great player. But Marquise Noel is a 5'9" dude that likes to chuck it. And like, he's been very inefficient at times. Like, he's had a great year. He's an All-American, blah, blah, blah. I know. But he doesn't scare me. Like, I think Montana State can slow him down. And they have the physicality to match Keontae Johnson. And Montana State, they got smoked last year in the tournament, but like, this is a team that's won their league 2 years in a row. They're ready for this moment. They're playing a weak 3 seed. A Kansas State team there is 1-7 in their last 8 games, not in their home gym. That's pretty bad. This game is not on their home floor. Give me Montana State. You got to take one long shot upset, which, considering that the spread in the Kent State game is 4, considering Oral Roberts is kind of a household name at this point based on what they did in 2021. Give me the Bobcats. Raekwon Battle is a name you will know soon if you don't already. Michigan State, USC. I had Michigan State all week. Just trust Izzo. But Andy Enfield's good in March too. And USC has a lot of length and physicality defensively. Boogie Alice, I think he's the best player on the floor in this one. Michigan State has shot really well from 3-point land this season, but why didn't that translate to more Big 10 wins? There's not that many teams that could really shoot that well in the Big 10 other than Iowa. I just don't. It's a feeling thing. I just don't feel that good about Michigan State. I know people think that they can go on a run here, but I like USC. USC should have beat Miami last year. As much as I love that Miami team, part of the reason I was scared to have them over Auburn is because I didn't know if they were going to get by USC. Andy Enfield is good in the tournament. No one watches USC because they're in the Pac-12, but they're good. And they just lost to Arizona State, but clearly Arizona State's good. Look at I guess Nevada's not good. It's all just spiraling now, but I like USC better. I think they win that game. People are getting a little cute with Vermont. Marquette just won the Big East tournament. Vermont's got my guy, Penn from Bellarmine, who's just like ambidextrous and just crafty in the lane. His isolation scorer. I wouldn't be surprised if that's close. I would look at Marquette. I'm at Vermont to cover, but Marquette's playing 2-0 right now. Shaka knows that would be so bad for Shaka if he lost that based on his recent tournament luck. Give me the Golden Eagles, and I'll push them right to the Sweet 16. I love Montana State, but I think this opens up a path for the Friars. I think it opens up a path for the Friars to be the Iowa State, to be the UCLA 11 seed that surprises everybody. Remember, why did UCLA go on that run? Who'd they play after their second game over they beat BYU? They played Abilene Christian, who upset a Big 12 school, Texas. Right? Shaka. But Providence gets a path opened up because of the upset. Friars move along. Where they play a team they've played twice this year in Madison Square Garden, which is a 3-hour drive from Providence, Rhode Island. And I think Providence gets them here. I think they're rolling after 2 wins. I think Marquette's hot streak comes to an end against a team that knows them well. Friars to the Elite Eight. Shocker, double-digit seed in the Elite Eight. Memphis, we got the chaos region in the East. Give me the 8 seed. Like you saw that I was very hesitant to put Tennessee there. Explain my reasoning why they're there. It's risky, is the safe version of my bracket is to just sneak Purdue in there and do 3-1 seeds. Oh, I forgot to pick this. Houston, I thought. If I didn't make that decision clear, Houston's my pick there. Texas is really good, but Houston is my pick. Memphis, Providence. Like at this point, does it make sense that I'm like thinking through this matchup because where are the odds I'm actually right here? Pretty slim. But Memphis is the team I trust more. I think it's more like I just like Memphis's path better. I think Memphis can beat Duke or Oral, of course, and then Providence over Marquette is a bit of a stretch, and Kentucky is obviously a tough first round matchup, and they might play Kansas State instead of Montana State. So point is, we're gonna get a little crazy. Here's our final four: Alabama, Houston, UConn, Memphis. I know UConn is a hot 4 seed, so it might not be that crazy, but we've got a 14, a 12, an 11, a 13. We've got a 6 in the Elite Eight, 2 8s over 1s, and 8 in the Final Four, and 11 in the Elite Eight. So we're having some fun. We got some upsets. We're chalk where we need to be, right? Like I said, like this UCLA pick, I wanted to go TCU. This Tennessee pick, I wanted to go Oral Roberts. You got to find the spots to dial it back a little bit. And I feel good about my 7-10s, my 8-9s. Yeah, I like it. Obviously, this isn't going to be right, but maybe it is. Alabama and Memphis play each other early this year. Memphis gave a great fight, but like I said, I think this Alabama team is really special. The court stuff is slightly concerning, but not really. Not that the issue isn't concerning. Of course, a life was lost. My point being that it has not affected the team at all. And Brandon Miller is not in any legal trouble. There's no chance that he's not going to be playing or anything. Alabama special. I think they are going to get to the finals and play Houston. Yeah, I'm boring. I've got the 2 top overall seeds playing each other in Houston. And I am going to pick Alabama. Sorry, I picked the top. Oh, I accidentally clicked Houston. Was that a sign? I don't know. But I'm going Alabama. I know they already beat them in Houston, right? And I think they're going to break their hearts again. I understand they have these freshmen, but I think they are that legit. You watch them play. You watch the way they run Nate Oates' system, the spacing, the athleticism, the depth, the way they defend. So many guys can handle the ball. Sears, Quinterly are pure guards, pure point guards. You bring in Jaden Bradley off the bench. I'm a huge fan of Rylan Griffin. He's such a smooth shooting stroke. And then Brandon Miller is just a bucket. He's 6'9". Like, I know Wembanyama is the first pick, and I guess Scoot Henderson from the G League is the second pick, but Miller is going to be a stud in the NBA. He is so good. So that's my bracket. My bracket's never good. My bracket was good in 2021 because I had Baylor over Gonzaga and I had Houston in my Final Four and no one had UCLA. Came in 4th in a pool of over 200 people that I run, actually. So that was fun. 4th place gets prize. They get like 10% of the pool. But yeah, here's my bracket. If you actually watch this whole thing, you're a beast. I bet no one did, but like and subscribe. This obviously 2 times speed is the move. If you made it here, I hope that's how you did it, is by going on 2 times speed. But yeah, we're having fun. It's a tough line to walk of you want to pick what you think is going to happen, but what's worse than a game that's worth 10 points, right? You're not going to win your pool if you don't pick the champion, right? Unless Colgate wins it all, right? Unless Penn State wins it all. Yeah, there could be some Penn State fans. Point is, you got to get the champion, right? So are the 10 points in round 1 really going to make or break you? Probably not. Actually, that year that I came in 4th, if I didn't have St. Bonaventure over Michigan, St. Bonaventure lost to LSU, wasn't even close. That was a stupid pick. That was me being too cute. But yeah, it's not made or break. Like, these points aren't going to kill me unless I was really confident about Duke making it far. Take the squad you want. Like, have fun with it. It's impossible to get it all right. So have some fun. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed. Good luck with all your brackets. More videos to come.